People deluded. Arsenal 3, Burnley 1, Burnley 1, Arsenal 3. The Premier League's been wrapped up from an Arsenal perspective. Yes, we've got the Europa League final. Fingers crossed we amend finishing 5th and get into the Champions League. But it's the 38th game. It's been done. There's a lot to say about the game. I'm sure those of you that were there saw it. Those of you that managed to even find the stream saw it. It was a bit of an eventful game. On one hand, maybe 3-1 flatters us a bit. But on the other hand, I feel we actually, on the large part, played better than I expected us to play. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing or speaks of my expectations, I guess we'll never know. But people, what more is there to say? We've come here. It feels like just the other day we kicked off against, who was it, City at home, and then we had Chelsea in the second game. We found ourselves here. It's been a mad season. Unbeaten run. We bottled it at the end. Around end of February, March. Good little run. Bullish in regards to the top 4. The fact is now, we're in May, we haven't done it. And considering that Spurs dropped points today, United lost, Chelsea, people were saying sorry, this and that, and they found themselves qualifying in 3rd for the Champions League. It could have been a season, despite all the issues we've had, of what could have been. And we can only think about where we went wrong. Congratulations to Manchester City as well in terms of winning the league. They saved us because we didn't want Liverpool to win the league. But Liverpool fans, it's all right. You're going to win the Champions League, and I'm speaking that into existence. But in regards to Arsenal, all our eggs is firmly in the Europa League. You saw that with the changes. Big up Joe Willock. I said in my preview I'd like to see him grab minutes. I think he took his chance today as well. But you saw him start. Eddie was on the bench. Mavropanos got a start as well. Maybe would have liked to have seen a couple more young players. Maybe Saka getting inclusion. Allegedly, Amichi's got a little knock. Or if you go on the game against Derby that they lost recently at under-18s, he got a little knock. Maybe he's not fully fit. But would have liked to have seen a bit more of an opportunity. Yeah, United lost at Cardiff, but we can also, forgive me if I'm wrong, excluding goal difference, finish behind them in 6th. We're going at a side where we've lost 3 of the last 5 away games at Turf Moor. On one hand, there's nothing for either side to play for. Like I said in my preview, in the sense that Burnley are safe. We can't get top 4 no matter what we do, unless a miracle happened, which it didn't against Everton, and us to probably score 4 or 5 or some stuff like that against Burnley. Why do I keep saying Derby? It weren't going to happen. But at the end of the day, it's 3 points. We haven't won too many times away from home. The fans that did make it up to Turf Moor, that have been loyal all season, in a season like I said earlier of ups and downs, give them something to at least go home on their travels feeling good about it. We all want the season to end. Like I said, a lot of changes. Ozil, Torreira, Kola, Xhaka, whether players Lacazette, whether players were on the bench or players were left at home, they didn't feature. All our eggs are in the Europa League. I feel we started off better than I thought, people, to be fair with you. I thought we actually made a good start. Where's my... Yeah, I think we actually made a decent start, if I'm completely honest with you, people. Didn't really create enough. Probably if I was a Burnley set of fans throughout that whole first half, I'd be happier if I was a Burnley fan. I felt set pieces. From Arsenal's perspective, we did look a bit shaky from them, and you saw stop saying Derby, man. Burnley, whenever they put the balls into the box, they were threatening us. Wood and Barnes were at it all game. McNeil down the left-hand side. Counter-attack, they look dangerous as well. I wouldn't say we got overrun in the midfield, because I think El Nene and Guendouzi especially had decent games today, but maybe in terms of the energy levels, I felt Burnley bettered us in that aspect, and they were having more chances, and we were probably lucky not to concede a few, to be fair. I know, if I remember correctly, Barnes had a couple, Tarkowski had a few. Felt the deliveries from Arsenal perspective on our set pieces were quite annoying, and the quality just wasn't there. Obviously, we weren't creating enough. I felt when we did get in behind, Aubameyang especially, it did look like we can do something. And forgive me if I'm wrong, Aubameyang forced a great save off, well, not great, it's an exaggeration, but forced Heaton to make a good save in the first half. I remember that. I remember there was one effort, I think... Guendouzi put a lovely ball into the box, far post. Nobody gambled it. I was looking at Aubameyang and thinking, that's a you sort of goal, bro. That's how you get the top goal scorer thing this last game week. There's that. I'm so sure there was another opportunity, but they're the only 2 that are coming to mind. They were too far and beyond. Burnley probably had more chances in the first half to go ahead. And on one hand, I don't think it was as bad as I would have pictured it in my head. I think we've done okay. But on the other hand, Burnley are better than us. They're more galvanised. Again, similar to how we've been on the road, the opposition are feeding off their fans' energy, and it's being reflected in their performance. And probably just the quality, the added bit of quality to grab a goal isn't there. I think Leonard had a couple booky moments. There was one I thought he conceded a penalty. I have to watch it again, but I don't know what he was doing. It looked like he ran straight into someone. There was a bit, I can't remember if it was the first half or the second half. It must have been the first, where he come off his line. Couple shaky moments. Mustafi done a couple booky things as well. But other than that, I wasn't really troubled. And like I said, man, Burnley really should have scored. We didn't really create anything, but we should have scored with our opportunities. I do think we were quite lacklustre, lacking a bit of creativity, probably a bit too predictable from a Burnley perspective. Sorry. There weren't too much. I remember Willock, I felt Joe Willock did all right, little cute touches, showing for the ball, getting in the trenches, giving the verbal to the opposition and that. He had a good effort where he took a good shot, and then I think it was a great touch, and then he skimmed it wide. But other than that, we do look, as much as I think we've been all right, we look a bit flat. The added quality isn't quite there. And to be fair, you can probably see Burnley scoring. So going into half-time, simply put, we kind of need to change. We need to change that, people. Did all 4 goals come in the first half? Arsenal been stressing me. My memory's going, to be fair with you people. But if I remember correctly, we against the run of play, we go 1-0 ahead. Cork, who's playing all right for Burnley, let himself down. You've got to concentrate for large periods. It's a poor pass. He kind of sells, well, he does, not even kind of, he does sell his teammate Ben Mee short. Aubameyang's racing clear on goal, and he does the rest. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's the ball in the back of the net. It's 1-0 to us. Obviously, from there, I still think Burnley could have scored, but we did look a bit calmer. I feel second half, Iwobi's playing much better, and he's putting in lovely balls. I don't know what was going on with his crosses, his delivery. Every delivery was on point. Monreal is giving us a bit in an offensive sense. I'll give credit to Lichtstein. I felt throughout the whole game, I felt he had a good game. He had an eventful game. He had to be busy defensively and offensively, but I felt in probably his last outing for the club, and to give Maitland-Niles a rest, he did all right going forward, to be fair with you. 2-0 was good play again from Monreal. Iwobi obviously picks out Aubameyang, and it's a good finish. And he tried it's not exactly, what would you call that, a half volley, people? I'm not sure, but he made up for the volley thing he tried last week of sorts, and he kind of puts it in. It wouldn't have been quite a spectacular finish if last week's one went in, but either way, it's 2-0. To be fair, against the run, I wouldn't say against the run of play, but Burnley I don't feel they necessarily deserve it, people. We let ourselves down defensively for 2-1. Quickly after that, what was it? 3 minutes ahead at 2-0. We let ourselves down for the goal we conceded. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but Wood eventually puts it in, either Wood or Barnes, one of them. Poor defending from Mustafi. Poor defending collectively if you go and watch the game again. It's the last game of the season, Premier League-wise, so I don't want to harp on about the same things, but it's nothing that we haven't saw all season, to be fair with you people. We're sleeping, it's 2-1, and Burnley, to be fair, I thought it might end 2-2 because their fans are on it. I feel Burnley probably switched off at moments, like you even saw with the first, but you could back them to sneak a goal, and to concede quickly after getting that, what I know a 2-0 lead isn't comfortable, but getting that sort of cushion, it was a bit silly from our perspective. But either way, it's 2-1. I felt we had chances. They had good chances, but I feel we had good chances. I feel throughout the whole game, Guendouzi played some very good passes. People are very quick to get on Guendouzi's back. I think he was superb today, so we need to hail him up equally. So yeah, obviously Aubameyang had, apologies people, not sure what happened there, but yeah, obviously both teams probably had chances to affect the scoreline, but towards the end of the game, all I have to do is wrap it up and say Eddie looked quite decent when he's come off the bench. I felt Joe was quite unfortunate to get substituted, and you could see he visibly looked upset. Obviously, it's the manager's decision, and he was playing well, and he's rarely been given opportunities, so he wanted to relish it, and he didn't quite get it. Come off, I feel it was nice for Eddie to score. Obviously, it's not the most glamorous of goals Eddie will get, but I feel at least for first team level, that will do Eddie Nketiah a lot of confidence, because at 23 level, he bangs it in for fun. He's shown his quality. Who did he come off the bench in the Premier recently? Come off and he showed us something in the last 20 minutes. We all remember against Norwich as well, but we also remember Blackpool. And I feel sometimes at first team level, maybe it's a young player. He thinks too much about trying to seize the opportunity he has at his feet, or with his hands in his hands, in terms of if he does well, Unai Emery might pick him more because it's been tough for these young players. More so a striker. Prior to Wells getting injured, Wells was getting a look in and playing quite well. Aubameyang demands 22 goals ending the season. Lacazette. So it's tough, people. Obviously, with Wells leaving, Eddie's gonna have a summer to think about. Does he back himself because he's been on the crust, even more so the last couple of game weeks? Does he back himself to stay in pre-season and get a look in early on in the season? Or if he's not, then for me, he's got to look at somewhere, whether that's Germany or in the Prem or some other top division. I wouldn't want to see him in the Championship, admittedly, people, where he can play on a regular basis, where he's training week in, week out with the squad, and he's going to play. The same goes for Joe Willock, because Joe Willock, you got to think, it does look appetizing for him. On paper, the midfielders that are going to be here with Ramsey left, on paper, Torreira, Guendouzi, Xhaka, El Nene, and Joe Willock will be the fifth. Forgive me if I'm missing anyone else out, and obviously for me we probably need about 2 midfielders, and that's without even talking about possibly even Maitland-Niles being played in his actual position, and then you've got to factor in Joe Willock. So it's a good debate to have for Joe with his family and his advisors. Does he stay at Arsenal? Similar to Eddie, he's been on the cusp this season, getting a look in here and there. But if you wasn't an Arsenal fan or haven't been looking at the bench or whatever, and you just looked at the statistics, how many times has he been on the bench? How many times has he been included in the first team? And crucially, how many times has he played? And you would see some sort of difference thing, whatever they call it. What's the fancy word they said in school for that? Do you see a difference? So for me, similar to Eddie, Joe needs to go somewhere if it's not here where he can play week in, week out, because he's badding up 23 football. When we was in the Checo Trade Trophy, you saw what he was doing. Obviously, people, it's a disappointing season in terms of the Premier League. Many fans, including myself, at the start of the season, I didn't see us coming top 4. So 5th is probably where you all saw us. So on that basis, looking back, I can't have any complaints. That's just looking at the macro. If we look at the micro and considering that, yeah, we know players need to come in, players need to go, tactics, and all of these other sort of things we could sit here and speak about all day, people. The fact is, other teams messed up, so did we, but other teams messed up. We found ourselves in an opportunity to get 4th, even magnified by today as well. I can sit here and I can say if we won, if we beat Palace twice, even if we beat West Ham away, if we played better in both games against Wolves where we dropped points, Southampton, any little game we've played recently, we can sit here and cherry pick them all. But that's for the manager and that's for the players, because this is when it's all going to hit home for everybody at Arsenal. If we played in this game, if we did this in that game, we could have been here. Because all of them will have different memories and different moments, possibly as to where they think they've individually messed up or where they've lost it. So in terms of the games, we can cherry pick and use hindsight, but they can only deal with the facts. In terms of galvanization, setting yourself out, temperament, again, away games, clean sheets, and not conceding cheap goals, there's a lot to be built upon and learn from next season. It's going to take more than a season to fix it. I would love to be sitting here in a year's time in 2020, people, just before the Euros, and saying, yeah, it's all changed. But it's a massive task. It's not just in terms of what Unai needs to fix, in terms of what the club from top to bottom needs to fix, in terms of what any member of playing staff that's going to be here next season, in terms of what they need to fix. Again, so what more can we say? The season relies on the Europa League. Next season, regardless of Europa League or not, the target is top 4. I get a lot of comments talking about what we need to do to challenge Liverpool and City and all of them things there. First and foremost, we need to assess what we want to do as a club. We need to assess who can move forward as a club. We need to just get back to basics. And the basics is being able to keep a clean sheet, being able to handle pressure, whether that's at home in front of nervous crowds or partisan, hostile away fans. We need to be able to win them sort of games. There's one thing that Arsene Wenger said, and it's not rocket science. If you can't win, don't lose. It's nothing new under the sun. But if you look at it in a footballing prospect, how many times has there been games we haven't quite been at it, and we should have just got a draw out of there, just got out of that with something, or games where we haven't been at it but we need to fight. There's been times we've done both, and especially in the 22 unbeaten run, we was getting the rub of the green. But when it came to crunch time, there's no way around it. We choked, people. It's sad to say we did choke. We did. We left March, and we knew March to May is the final furlong now. It's just about winning games. It's just about being galvanised. Liverpool showed their galvanisation. Champions League final, and they just unfortunately, it's sad, but 97 points or so, they've just missed out to City. What can you say? They were 9 points clear at one point. That's where they can look to, but galvanised. You see what I'm saying? City galvanised, target on their back. Spurs been injuries, suspensions, stadium business, speculation over players and managers' future, all in no money spent, all of these sort of things. Luck, whatever you want to call it, they found themselves still in the top four without dropping, despite the fact they dropped all them points, and they're in the Champions League final. And we can sit here and say the rest and this and that, but from an Arsenal perspective, there's a lot to work on. We went slightly off task in regards to Arsenal versus Burnley. Like I said, I apologise for it cutting out, people, but on that note, I've got nothing more to add, so I'm going to keep it moving. People, deluded.